I'm trying to redefine the word selfish.
Let me redefine the selfish for you. See,
You know he can.
there is nothing here in your experience without involving yourself. So you do not know life without yourself. Only because you exist, there is life. If you did not exist, what do you know about life? There is simply no possibility. So selflessness is just an idea, a futile idea. The only way you can exist here is selfish. The question is like this, for somebody selfishness means it's all about themselves as an individual. For somebody else, it's for him and his family. For someone else, it's him and his community. For someone else, his selfishness for him and his race or religion or nationality.
Oh boy.
I'm saying, why are you stingy about your selfishness?
Oh!
Why don't you be absolutely selfish? Why don't you make your selfishness cosmic, at least global? What?
You knew where he was going with it, and you just couldn't stop it. You wanted to stop because you knew it was coming, and you were scared. But it's here now. What? Mitch is just saying shit right now. You knew you were gonna stop it. You knew he was going, but you couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop it. I'm only working from a place of knowing now,
Yes.
so I might not make sense to you guys.
Yeah. You know, Sadhguru always talks about snakes.
Yes.
So we brought a live one.
It's alive.
It's only got one eye.
It's only got one eye. I just
Yeah.
realized that.
It's the one-eyed snake.
Oh,
Sees
think about it.
sees all things.
All right. So today we are doing what you wanted.
Something very special.
Something very special. We are finally reacting to a long Sadhguru talk, which so many people suggest, and we didn't really know what to do about it because an hour-long Sadhguru talk means that we have a long reaction. And so
We watch a 15-minute Sadhguru video and it ends up being like 30 or 40 minutes at the end.
Yeah. So we didn't want to bombard you with that on YouTube. So we are giving you a bit of our conversation that we have today between Sadhguru and Matthew McConaughey, which a lot of you have been suggesting. And the rest of the video will be up on our Patreon.
So if you would like to help us out and get some bonus content, you can make your way over to Patreon. It would mean the world so that we can keep doing this type of stuff and we can go into more and more depth with this type of longer content, but we realize that it's a bit too much to make videos this long consistently.
Hey, it's like Sadhguru exclusive.
Yes.
Not everybody's ready for it.
Not everybody's ready for all of
Not
this.
everybody's ready for all this. You're gonna get 3 hours of whatever this is on Patreon.
So yeah, we know that it's kind of annoying to ask for money and stuff, and we don't want to be like that, but at the same time, we would love to be able to do this with you guys for as long as we can.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we need to figure out a way to also make some financials. So we're just going to keep it real with you guys, say that much, and I feel like we're excited for this Matthew McConaughey, Sadhguru, Clash of the Titans.
And we're gonna keep it real. I'm also gonna throw up what we have as inspiration on the other side of our computer.
We have a really
sometime
wide
soon.
monitor.
Yeah.
So we'll often have to put like the reaction just on one side, the video we're watching.
Yeah.
Someone will put up an inspirational picture on the other side.
Sometimes it's like KRS-One or a spiritual teacher or just and today we got this. I'm gonna put it through the full screen.
All right,
It's fantastic. All right, we're gonna begin.
Namaskaram, good morning, Matthew.
Good morning,
I've been meaning to ask this. I'm so sorry. What does namaskara mean? Everyone give us both your description of what it is and also what it means to you. Because I feel like I need like a bit more depth to it before I would ever want to like use that term.
Yeah.
Is that a term that is like cool if we use as well?
Yeah, we don't
I don't
wanna,
know.
We don't want to use it as if
We don't
it's
want to
like
appropriate. Yeah.
appropriate. That's
Yeah.
the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Very good.
Very good.
But I love the sound of it, and I love that it comes
with the
with a bow to life. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So let us know. Yeah.
Also, look how good Sadhguru is looking today. Just
And we're going to pull our inspiration picture up again, and you will know now why we chose this inspiration picture. It's the rapper Black Thought. It's one of our favorite rappers, and Sadhguru is channeling his inner Black Thought right now.
let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Ultimately, human beings are not able to appreciate or understand this privilege. Though you are not even a speck of dust in this cosmos, you have an individual experience. You can look at it from your own end, as if you are a whole universe yourself. But if you take this individuality too seriously, everything will be contradictory. Once it's contradictory, as you get more invested in these contradictions, conflict is a natural outcome, you know.
Yes, heard. You know, you said in your book, destiny is what you create for yourself. Fate is when you fail to create your own destiny. I am a believer in responsibility.
I heard that you don't drive through the red lights.
I've run a few red lights. All right, but again, I say, you know, if for people that say, oh, it's all fate, then I always I half jokingly say, okay, then run all the red lights, see what happens. I mean, I believe that the prime mover or God, whatever, or life, that once our hands on the wheel, saying we are self-determining creatures. Don't just take the hands off and just completely, inshallah, the whole existence of going through the world.
This makes me think of the Sadhguru episode. It was like maybe the first Sadhguru you and I ever reacted to. And what this makes me think of is I'm hearing Sadhguru's words. Do you believe that or do you know it? He was talking in that episode to, I think, Logan Paul.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the group that he was with. And I'll be honest, when we filmed that, you were getting a lot of it, and you were just having to explain to me what he was saying. And I haven't watched the video since, but my memory of that video has formed since then to a point where I'm like, I was able to come to that like by myself without him, and then come back and be like, oh my God, it was right in front of me that whole time.
The idea of not knowing or like
Are
believing
you
isn't, yeah.
Are you working from a place of belief or are you working from a place of knowing?
Yeah.
And I think that that's been a huge challenge for me, but it is where I'm moving is the place of believing is just like, let that go.
Yeah.
And I think that that's happening very much on the inside right now, but on the outside, I'm still at times speaking from a place of believing, because when you start talking to people, you almost get into the ruts that you always get into.
Yes.
You know, because by yourself, you are able to, you are allowing yourself, and you can allow yourself more easily, in my experience, to allow for continual change. But then when you get back with the people that you have these kind of stagnant relationships with sometimes, especially
you
the
both
people,
have like a mental image of each other.
a mental image of each other. Yes. Yeah. It's like I have an idea of what they want to hear from me, and they have an idea of who I am.
Yeah.
And, you know, vice versa. And so that creates a system where it's like a rut. Yeah, it's a rut that's formed that, and the better you know someone, it's almost like the harder that rut is to re-level itself.
Yeah. It's cool how when you first meet someone, I feel like your conversations can go in infinite directions.
Yeah.
And then once you know someone, believe you know someone, there can be almost these like train tracks
Yes.
of like the conversations you've had,
Dude, exactly.
and the things that should be expected, and then
Yeah.
it's like your path, even if you can like veer it a little bit and like really try, it will often just kind of like lock back,
Dude.
you know?
Exactly. And so that's been pretty difficult. That's why it's almost been these amazing moments that I've been having with people that I've never met before or barely know. Because I feel more comfortable just giving the self that I am now versus the like run the process of, oh well, maybe they'll want to start talking about this and maybe I should just start talking about this, and then that leads me to start talking from a place of believing again. Whereas on the inside,
Because it leads you to your past systems of
Exactly.
of life.
It's the rut. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
trick
like
is
that a
the
lot.
trick is to get out of that with the people you know best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like know them, or kind of like understand that what you know of them is a belief, you know, and that they are constantly evolving.
Yeah.
But to be able to look at someone with that blank slate every day,
Yes.
like,
and for
that's-
me, feeling comfortable enough to present this ever-changing self without the fear that they're going to feel challenged, that they're not going to connect with me the way that they did, that they're going to feel uncomfortable. And it's all these thoughts of what's going to happen.
all projections.
All projections.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
more beliefs.
All more, yeah.
So there's responsibility and fate, I think, and there's the fate of responsibility, and is that sort of what that line's saying? Destiny is what you create for yourself. Fate is when you fail to create your own destiny. That would be there's a fate of responsibility. Fate is a fact in waiting.
Fate is a destiny unattended.
Oh.
You did not attend.
What?
You did not attend to certain aspects of your life. So they will go by the tendencies that exist within you or by the social situations that are happening around you. So if you allow outside situations to simply happen the way they happen, largely it'll happen to all of us reasonably the same way if you're living in the same place. But destiny means you take charge of it. And though many times we may not be able to change all the physical situations around us, still we can change the way we experience it. Nobody can stop us from that. What is your life is essentially the way you experience it. What is your life is not in terms of what you have around you. What your life really is the way you experience it. And the way you experience it, or whichever way you experience it, happens within you. What happens within you, if you don't take charge of that, I think it's a wasted life. Outside situations, not always governed by us, there are too many forces around us. Everything is not determined by us. What we have outside right now, we were talking about technology. Well, if you and me existed 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, what we could do would have been very different. So what we are doing now, let us not take too much pride in what we are doing right now, because this is a consequence of the times in which we exist. If we did exist here at 10,000 years ago, I don't know if you would have found a cave in Austin, I would have found in India. So
Yeah. Yes, would have been somewhere else doing it some other way.
Yeah. So what we are doing is a consequence of times, but how we experience it is entirely ours. A caveman also, there were cavemen or cave women who were joyful and miserable. Today in 21st century, with all the conveniences, there are joyful and miserable people still, all right? So it is the way you experience is determined by you, not by the situations around you.
That's been I think it was like an Alan Watts talk that we listened to a while ago. I don't think it was a reaction, I think we were just listening to it. Said something about the way, like, where sound comes from, as an example of, like, the fact that it's all created within us. But the other day when I was like drifting asleep, and there was just all of a sudden this very clear, like, song played on a trumpet. Like, clear to the point where I was like, I feel like someone's playing trumpet right now. And that kind of, like, snapped me back awake thinking about that. And there was no one playing trumpet. It was just, like, a creation.
Whoa.
And when that happened, that line came back to me about, like, where does sound actually come from? Because all sound that we perceive is actually being perceived in here somehow. And that's just, for me, just like one example of how powerful our perception is. The fact that we can completely make something up, like a full imagination of a sound that is so clear that we think it's outside of us. At least that's what I went through. And then I was like, so how much of the things that I am, like, looking at every day, how much of the way that those are perceived are just completely made up? You know? And I almost feel like the more you, like, understand how you perceive and what the perceiver is, you start to unlock the kind of what he's talking about here of being able to take control of how a perception affects you. Because now you understand, or you've started to understand a little bit more about what it even means to perceive. You know, I think that's really fascinating. Got anything?
A lot of my perception right now is flowing right through me, and it's coming out the other side. And so I'm just gonna let it go.
All right.
Yeah.
Heard. Thank you. You say this line. I love the.
You've been reading the book. I haven't read it yet. I've been trying to open it. It never happened.
Well, you haven't read your book. You don't need to. You wrote it. You know, I actually just got this 2 days ago. I have not had time to read the whole thing, but I've gone through it and seen some nuggets that felt like lyrics that I like. Oh, I like that song. Okay, I hear that. And here's one of those. Karma is about shifting responsibility from heaven to yourself. In this, you become the maker of your own destiny. Now, you just talked on that, but I want to bring up an idea that's something, and my pastor tells me I'm pushing a big rock up a tall, steep hill with this idea I've got. But as a person who likes to play with words, I do as well, I believe that we should be, I'm trying to redefine the word selfish. That being more selfish is actually being more selfless.
I love Sadhguru. I'm just gonna go out and say it. I came to the idea, I experienced recently when I was reading a book that I found myself nodding at the things I most agreed with. As if, and I explain this to you, as if I was the judge of everything. And so you find yourself shaking your head at things you don't like, nodding at things you do like, remaining still at things that you're neutral with. And I realized that puts me as this great judge that is the absolute in a way. Whereas you see someone like Sadhguru, regardless of what his processing is of Matthew McConaughey's words, regardless of whether he's going to challenge him or not, he's not nodding furiously or shaking his head. Because you find that so often in a conversation like this, where it's two people, you can tell in a sense that Matthew McConaughey is trying to be very cordial and like joke around with him and like make it a more comfortable atmosphere. I don't know if you can feel that. But Sadhguru is just like he's just sitting in himself. He doesn't feel necessarily like he has, or that's at least my perception, is that he doesn't feel like he necessarily has to make it more comfortable by, you said something I agree with. Like, you know how often we do that where someone will be saying something. We do this constantly. We're just like,
because it kind of is a reaction.
yeah. That is what a reaction is. Oh boy.
Yeah. We've messed up.
We need to really rethink this whole channel.
We're on the wrong path right now.
Let us know if we're on the wrong path. But I just think that's incredible. He is just sitting there, and even if he is, these words from Matthew McConaughey feel like something he needs to refute, he's not getting more grim. And if it's something that Matthew McConaughey says that he likes and doesn't feels like he's going to agree with, he doesn't, at least that's what I'm noticing, is he's not like overly enthusiastic about agreeing with him, because he's not viewing himself as this like constant judger of the thing. He's just experiencing it, like witnessing it, and I don't know, that just hit me. Like, what a good listener. That's a great listener.
And that was interesting to me, because we often consider like active listening, good listening, to like really be in their story and like nod with them, or shake your head with them. Yes. And that's what good listening, what I've been taught good listening is. What is good listening really? Dude, this is some shit that came to me the other day that I wanted to share with you.
Yeah.
We were talking about desires the other day.
Yes.
And more like 2 weeks ago or something. And I realized that there are a lot of desires within myself that I don't fully accept. You know, like the desire to be special. This is one that, like, you
That's
know,
a tough one.
I feel like everyone probably deals with something like this.
It's a really tough one.
But for me personally, it comes up a lot. I'll have like imaginations of being special, like doing something that I wish I could do, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I need to accept that part of me. But then listening to Jiddu, he said something really interesting that
Jiddu Krishnamurti.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone knew, but
yeah. Actually, I don't know. I think it was while I was listening to Jiddu that it got me to this.
Okay.
This thing kind of popped into me.
Yeah.
Which was like, when I accept myself, when I accept those parts of me, when I accept someone else, I am actually judging them. I am saying that you are good as you are. Or at least that's my perception of acceptance, is like me saying like, other people haven't accepted you. I accept you for what you are. And it kind of made me think that I'm already, at least in my experience, placing a value when I accept someone as being like, you are worthy. Mm-hmm. But there's almost this difference between that being the nod or observation and no judgment whatsoever, is like even a step back from acceptance in a way.
That's really interesting. This gets to a point for me where we're playing with words to describe things that are beyond words. So like your definition of acceptance, my definition of acceptance might be different. But
because maybe acceptance means just observing for what it is.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. I feel like what I see as the highest version of interacting with another person is, I feel like a version of acceptance is the way that I would describe it, but it's all rooted in understanding, I think. Like the sitting without judgment, but you're also aware of all the things that have led this person to where they're at. And you understand to a deep level, I feel like that is a version of love for me. Is like love synonym is like the act that comes from understanding.
Yeah, yeah, it's just like within our own perception. But I guess that's where I'm like, I guess I'm questioning myself of like, what can I understand? How can I like know those things? So is love really just unfiltered attention?
Ooh,
You know, it's just
that's
like
good. That's really good.
I am
That's really
I
good.
am nothing right now besides you.
Oh wow!
I guess that's what I meant by like, the difference between observation and acceptance is like
That just gave me chills.
acceptance like already
Yeah.
says something.
Yeah.
Observation is like a nothingness.
That's incredible.
Just a.
I've heard that a couple times recently. Is that love like this is the third time, completely disparate events, where someone has said love is just pure attention to something. And there was, just for like a quick personal story, I've already told this story, but it was a night where I was talking with someone through the night and it just turned into silence, just staring. And I went to the bathroom at one point, looked in the mirror, and it was the first time I had experienced nothingness. You know, it's not like I didn't even connect with the word until that point. It's like I had resistance to the word nothingness in the spiritual path because I thought everything had to be vibrant. Everything had to be full and beautiful and essential. And then the nothingness, that's why what you just said hit me so hard, was because that's what it came from. It was from pure attentiveness where I was in complete flow. There was no thought. There was just pure attention.
Dude, it's why like a really engaging sport is so amazing because
Yes.
you do not exist while the sport's being played.
Oh, because
You
the
know?
thought I exist is removed from the existing.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's just the playing that's happening.
Whoo! Dude. I'm really gonna have to sit with that. That's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that just like raised my energy level a bit.
Nice.
And just one other point that I wanted to make is when listening to someone, going back to the nodding and shaking your head,
Yeah.
the agreeing or disagreeing, I feel like keeps someone, like, say someone is in what Ram Dass calls an ego trip. It's like you see someone so stuck in their story and they just want to sit and complain to you. Something like that. I feel like that's a pretty common thing that you, like, lots of people do. It's like if you feel comfortable with someone, you want to vent to them.
Yeah.
That's like thought of as a very healthy thing.
Mm.
And if you can see that as an ego trip without the judgment that it's an ego trip, I have felt that it's the best thing to do is let them go through it without you resisting it or positively fueling it,
Affirming
it, because either of those will keep the ego trip going and doesn't allow the person to witness their own ego trip. I feel like that's the goal, if you're the listener, is to allow the other person, because this happens so often. I'll be on my own ego trip. I'll go talk to you or I'll go talk to Jake, like some of our friends. And when I get to the right listener, like if you're just sitting there and you don't, sometimes you just do this, I think just naturally. You won't put a judgment on it. And I will just be in the middle of speaking and just all of a sudden witness my own ego trip. And I'll be like, holy crap. I was deep in this. But what that allows for is if you're not positively affirming it, if you're not resisting it, the person can then no longer rely on you. They have to, like, ideally then question themselves as like, wait, why am I saying this to them? Am I just looking for affirmation? Am I looking for resistance? Because that's something that people do sometimes. They're like, I'm going to say this thing that I'm guilty for, and I'm going to see if I should be this guilty for it. And if you get nothing, then you're wondering why you even said the thing in the first place to the other person. And then that makes you reflect on your own ego trip. And that feels really tough in the moment. Like whenever I experience that, I'm like, oh, I'm a terrible person. You know, of course you first put the judgment on yourself, but then later it just, in the future, it allows you to reflect before you get into that situation. And
you're like, I'm not that person.
What do you mean?
like at least for me, how whenever I do that, it's like I'll empty this like tank of like ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it's empty, I'm like, wait a second, all of that was a tank that's now empty, but I'm still here. And it's almost like like foolish. And I know exactly the feeling you mean when you're like, oh, I'm so dumb. Like, why did I share all that? That was stupid.
Yeah.
But really, it's because you like get to a point of being like, that was nothing.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And then you start to realize the nothingness behind these words and these mental concepts that you're speaking of. And then speaking comes, like, I'll be honest, I've said this before, but speaking in reactions has become a bit tougher for me. It's become a bit tougher to be able to speak from a place like where I move up into my mind, but then also if I don't, it kind of feels like I'm just preaching because I'm trying to work from just a place of knowing. So there's not a lot of questioning.
Yeah.
That's been like a tough thing for me. Yeah.
Feel you.
Oh geez, that was wow. That was like I'll just say it. That might have been my favorite pause in Learn With Us history. The chunk.
That was something.
That
was a ride.
Do any of you do Sadhguru's breathing? We do it every day now and we love it.
Yeah.
And do you ever feel when you're doing the tongue back that your uvula just like rattles up against your tongue?
Nope.
Well, then get your tongue further back, dude. It's a cool
like choking
feeling.
Yourself.
No, it's just like.
Dude, your tongue's way back there.
I know.
I can feel it. It's so far back there.
I didn't feel that initially when I started doing it, but then like a week ago, I just did for the first time, and I was like, wow, it's really far back there. And I was like, oh, this kind of feels nice. I'm going to try and do this every time I do the breath.
You're going to choke yourself out sometime.
No. Imagine choking on your own tongue.
That's a thing.
What?
Yeah.
That's a thing?
Yeah. That like I forget. There's like a certain drug where like, I think it might be alcohol, that like a lot of times people choke on their own tongue because their whole body has lost that neural connection, so it just like folds when they're asleep. Like that's a way that people die.
Oh.
What I'm saying is you might die.
If I die by choking on my own tongue, like, good riddance. Get me
Dude,
out of here. Get me out of here.
I'll get on stage at your funeral and I'll be like, hey, at least we all know he was enjoying the feeling of his uvula rattling against his tongue.
You gotta be like, yo, let's take a hit for our boy Mitch. And just like, just start doing the breathing. Everybody just gets really high. Oh man, I hope you like this, because there's gonna be a lot more of it coming up.
We're the 12 minutes and 50 seconds.
We are melting.
I'm trying to redefine the word selfish.
Let me redefine the selfish for you. See,
You know we can.
there is nothing here in your experience without involving yourself. So you do not know life without yourself. Only because you exist, there is life. If you did not exist, what do you know about life? There is simply no possibility. So selflessness is just an idea, a futile idea. The only way you can exist here is selfish. The question is like this: For somebody, selfishness means it's all about themselves as an individual. For somebody else, it's for him and his family. For someone else, it's him and his community. For someone else, his selfishness for him and his race or religion or nationality.
Oh boy.
I'm saying, why are you stingy about your selfishness?
Oh!
Why don't you be absolutely selfish? Why don't you make your selfishness cosmic, at least global? What…
You knew where he was going with it, and you just couldn't stop it. You wanted to stop because you knew it was coming, and you were scared. But it's here now. What? Mitch is just saying shit right now. You knew you were gonna stop it. You knew he was going, but you couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop it. I'm only working from a place of knowing now,
Yes.
so I might not make sense to you guys.
Yeah.
We are going to, I don't know, split this up. So we're gonna probably end this here for you Patreon viewers, and might split up into 2 or 3 depending on how long we talk, but you will see.
Hope you enjoyed this
Time.
deep dive.
Yeah,
'Cause I enjoyed it a lot.
I also enjoyed it a lot. And I'm like an ice cream cone. It's been in the hot sun.
Hudson.
Hot sun.
Hotman.
Hotman.
Much love.
Much love.